lot of you guys were asking, how can I add more than one rig in Blender? So that's exactly what I'm going to go ahead and show you today. And then I also decided to include 5 big tips for good scenery, and then I'll go ahead and put the timestamp of when that starts on the screen so you can skip to that if you're only here for that. Anyway, if you want to learn how to add more than one rig into Blender, then keep on watching. So right now I already have one rig loaded in. I'll go ahead and put the link to this rig in the description box, as well as the one that I normally use. This is the pretty common paint rig that I see a lot of people using, and I already have it open. In order to upload more than one rig, the first thing you're going to need to do is make a copy of that rig in your folders. So go ahead and find wherever you have it saved. Try to keep things organized. I'm going to be using paint rig, so I found the file here, and then just go ahead and copy and paste it to make a copy, so you have one labeled copy. Now once that's done, you can just go right back into Blender. Okay, so we're back in Blender and we have our copy of our rig, so go to File in the top left corner, and then go down to Append, which has a little like paperclip icon. Choose Append, and it's going to open up all your files, so just go ahead and find where you made that copy, find the copy, and double click on it. Now when you double click on your copy of the rig, it's going to give you a bunch of weird looking file folders, so just go ahead and find the one labeled object and double click to open it. Lastly, it's going to show you all the contents of that folder, which is basically just everything that makes up your rig. It's a bunch of objects that look like this. You can press A on your keyboard to select them all, or just click on one and then shift and then click on the rest. I just pressed A, and the last thing you're going to do is choose Append. Now, it doesn't look like anything happened, but that's actually because they're on top of each other, so let me just move one on the other. Okay, so now we have 2 because we went ahead and uploaded that copy. So if you want to go ahead and add a third one, just once again go up to File, Append, make sure you have your copy open. I already have it open. It's gonna show it if that's the last thing you had open. A to select them all, and Append. And that's it, and then you can add in as many as you want from that same copy file. You only need one copy, and that's literally it. Now you have more than one rig. Okay, so here are 5 big tips for successful scenery. So I already have a scene pulled up for you guys. It's a really fun kind of like pool looking moment. It's super duper cool, and I think it turned out great. So as you can notice, I have 5 rigs already posed and everything. They're already looking really, really good. So the first big tip that I want to talk about is the actual act of posing them. So the biggest tip here is you want to make sure that you are mirroring lifelike poses. So make sure your characters aren't doing anything that they wouldn't do in real life or in a movie or something. So for example, the back is not going to be bent at a 90-degree angle, and the head is not going to be completely turned around weird anything. Like, obviously we want to make sure that all of our limbs are actually doing something that they would do in real life. So you want things to look natural. If you're ever at a kind of wall with posing, what I recommend is actually physically getting up in real life and doing the pose to the best of your ability. That way you can actually look at yourself and realize, how are my elbows bent? How are my shoulders angled? All of that stuff, and then just go ahead and put that back into Blender. And it's going to make things so much easier now that you actually have something like yourself to go off of. Once your posing looks actually natural and actually nice, the next biggest tip that we want to work with is making sure that our people are actually kind of interacting with each other. This is a scene, so we want to make sure that they're kind of like talking to each other or just looking at each other, anything to make it seem like they actually acknowledge each other's existence, because think of them as real people. So for example, in this scene, this girl is kind of watching him go off the slide. It's a super duper fun kind of dynamic here. She's smiling, she's laughing. In the back here, we've got these 2 people and they're playing with a beach ball. So everyone is kind of playing with each other, interacting with each other, and they look like real people. So just make sure that each of your characters have some sort of interaction with themselves. Next, you also want to make sure that they're interacting not only with each other, but also with the props and also with the models that you're using. Speaking of models, when you're using more than one rig, I highly recommend you always add some sort of like prompt or background, something going on. For example, we've got this whole pool moment right here. That's really important to making things look realistic. So you want to make sure that they're kind of interacting with this in a way. So like I said earlier, the characters in the back are playing with a beach ball. This character here is coming off of the slide. There's some characters in the water and there's some characters out of the water, but they're all kind of working with the models that I've provided, and they're kind of playing with them, so it looks very, very real, like it would be in real life. For example, in real life, if a bunch of people are at a pool, they're not going to be standing around doing nothing. They're going to be actually in the water playing with something, etc. Speaking of keeping things realistic, the next tip you want to do is hardly talked about, but I think it's so important, and that is all about outfits. Make sure that your outfits that you're choosing actually make sense for the scene and for the characters. So this is a pool scene. Obviously everybody is going to be wearing swimsuits, so they've all got some really cool bright colored swimsuits on. They just look really, really, really cool. Even this guy in the back has some goggles on, stuff like that. The girls have their hair tied up. She has these little floaties on. The outfits just make sense for the place. Now obviously you could spend a bunch of time on Roblox Studio building a super kind of aesthetically pleasing looking person, but then when you throw them into the scene, it might look out of place because they're not wearing what you would in real life. So just make sure that you actually kind of like think in logistical terms and make sure that everything makes sense. Finally, my last tip is to make this scene have a purpose. You want it to have a story, you want it to have a reason. This was actually a commission for a hotel group, and they wanted to me to use their pool model. So basically the message I'm conveying is, hey, if you join this hotel group, you're gonna have a lot of fun playing at the pool. That's kind of what I'm creating here. So you want to try to avoid like quote-unquote pointless scenes or scenes that just don't make sense or don't have something actually going on. You want to make sure they have a reason and a drive behind it. And going off of that, my biggest tip for just creating thumbnails in general is make it look like you just paused a movie. That is the biggest thing. Any thumbnail that you really take, or any icon even that is a scene, this is basically almost as if you were watching a movie and you paused it and that's the frame that you landed on. That's what we're going for. You want it to be super dynamic, you want to have things going on, everyone is interacting with each other, just like it was a paused video. So I hope these tips help. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, so go have fun working with more than one rig and just overall have fun with it, play around, get creative, and you guys are going to have so much fun. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, comment down below other tutorial ideas that you guys want to see.